I never imagined I'd be staring my own parents down across a courtroom. My hands trembled slightly as I clutched the folder resting on the table before me. At 27, I thought I had faced every kind of betrayal. Lovers who cheated, friends who vanished during hard times, but nothing compared to this. They were suing me. My parents, Walter and Patricia Hargrove, were dragging me into court over the estate left by my grandmother, Eleanor Hargrove, a woman who raised me like her own daughter while my parents gallivanted across continents, chasing careers and prestige. Your Honor, my father said with his usual theatrical presence. My mother never updated her will. It was written 20 years ago, long before our daughter, Ivy, had any capacity to manipulate her. Manipulate? I fought the urge to laugh. If anyone was manipulative, it was the two people standing before the judge, dressed in somber designer suits, projecting parental concern, while hiding vipers' hearts underneath. They were demanding control over my grandmother's estate, her house, her jewelry, even the art collection that Eleanor explicitly told me she wanted donated to a local gallery. They claimed I forged everything, that I took advantage of a dying woman, that I used her frailty to secure her assets. But they didn't know what I had. Not yet. Chapter 2. The Truth Buried in Silence. My grandmother was the only real family I ever had. When I was 6, my parents left me with her temporarily while they relocated for a job in Tokyo. That temporary stay turned into 12 years. Eleanor was warmth, stability, stories over hot cocoa, quiet evenings in her garden. She never spoke badly about my parents, but I could tell there was tension, especially after she discovered some discrepancies in her financial accounts a few years before she died. One night, Eleanor had shown me a black leather folder, thick with documents, spreadsheets, and letters. Just in case something ever happens, she said, placing it in a safe. They don't deserve anything. I didn't open it until the week after her funeral. That folder changed everything. It wasn't just about the estate. It was evidence of theft, money laundering, tax fraud, real estate embezzlement, and names that included my parents. At the probate hearing, I submitted the updated will that Eleanor had signed a year before her death. It left everything to me, because I had taken care of her, stayed by her side, and because, in her words, I was the only family who ever loved her without strings attached. My parents balked. That will is fake, my mother hissed. You must have coerced her. They hired forensic analysts, tried to prove the signature was forged, claimed Eleanor was not a sound mind. It dragged on for months. And during that time, I played along, let them think they were winning, let them underestimate me, until the final hearing. July 12th, 9 a.m. The courthouse in Charleston was humid, crowded, and tense. The judge, a woman named Judge Tamsin Reed, known for her no-nonsense demeanor, listened carefully as both legal teams presented final statements. Then she looked at me. Ms. Hargrove, do you have anything to add before I rule on the will's validity? I stood, calm, confident. My attorney nodded. We had rehearsed this. I do, Your Honor. I have a document that changes the nature of this case. Judge Reed raised a brow. Go on. From my briefcase, I pulled a single sheet of paper, not the whole folder, just one piece. It was a notarized confession from Eleanor's former accountant, a man named Marvin Ellis, who had come forward just 3 weeks prior. In it, he described how Walter and Patricia Hargrove had been siphoning money from Eleanor's trust fund for over a decade using shell companies, international bank transfers, and fake consulting fees. But the bombshell? They had also forged Eleanor's power of attorney to gain access to her assets before she died. I walked up and handed the document to the bailiff, who gave it to the judge. Judge Reed read it carefully. Her eyes narrowed. She didn't say a word for a full minute. Then she looked up at the bailiff. Call the officers in the hallway, she said flatly. And just like that, the courtroom erupted into chaos. 2 police officers entered quickly, their hands already near their belts. What's the situation, Your Honor? Detain Walter and Patricia Hargrove. Judge Reed ordered. I'm submitting this document into evidence. Fraudulent activity involving financial elder abuse and document falsification. Do not allow them to leave. My father stood up, furious. This is a setup. That paper is a lie. My mother looked pale, speechless for once. You'll be given an opportunity to speak with your lawyer, the officer said calmly. But for now, you're both under investigation. They were cuffed right there, in front of everyone. Gasps echoed through the gallery. I caught the eye of one of the court reporters, her mouth agape, and I stood there motionless, the ghost of a smirk playing on my lips. The media caught wind of the incident within hours. Local power couple detained for elder fraud. The headlines read. Their photos were everywhere. Mugshots alongside screenshots of gala appearances and charity events. Their reputations were incinerated overnight. But that wasn't the end. Investigators raided their home. They found offshore account details, incriminating emails, forged documents Eleanor never knew about, and most damning of all, audio recordings Eleanor had secretly made during a heated visit where my father threatened her to sign over control of her trust. The case ballooned into a full-scale criminal investigation. The IRS got involved. The FBI, too. I was contacted daily by lawyers, prosecutors, journalists. I turned most of them away, because all I wanted was to finally live in peace. I now live in Eleanor's house, the same place I spent my childhood summers picking blueberries and listening to jazz on the patio. I kept her room exactly the same. The smell of lavender still clings to the curtains. The court awarded me full control of the estate. My parents were indicted. They're awaiting trial out on bail, but banned from contacting me or managing any finances. Funny, isn't it? They wanted everything, and they ended up with nothing. Well, that's not true. They ended up with something. Consequences. Sometimes I reread that one sheet of paper. The statement Marvin gave me, sealed and signed. I keep it in a frame, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. The truth doesn't always roar in. Sometimes it enters quietly, a single sheet of paper that tips the scales. And sometimes justice comes not with a bang, but with a whisper of a turning page. It's been a year since the courtroom erupted, a year since the shackles clink around my parents' wrists and their carefully constructed empire began to collapse under the weight of truth. They're both facing a long list of charges: financial elder abuse, identity theft, tax evasion, and fraud. Their lawyers still try to cut deals, but the evidence is overwhelming. The trial begins in 3 months, and I won't be attending. I've said all I needed to say with one piece of paper. As for me, I rebuilt my life quietly. I used a portion of the estate to start a foundation in Eleanor's name, a scholarship fund for underprivileged girls interested in art and design, two things she loved most. Her paintings now hang in a local museum with her name engraved in gold under each frame. Every morning, I sit in the garden she once tended, coffee in hand, breathing in the scent of the same rose bushes we planted together when I was 7. Peace doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in moments, in silence, in the absence of fear. I no longer need my parents' approval. I never really did. All I needed was the truth and the courage to speak it, because sometimes everything they demanded in court can be undone by the right truth at the right time on just one page. And that one page, it didn't just free me, it set everything right.